Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you rock dwellers, sycophants, stinkos, all you hateful, angry people who celebrate the president. This is the place to welcome, and this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me as my co-host is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, and that's George Landrith. George, welcome to Conservative Commandos.
Thank you. It's great to be here. This is the place to be.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, George, I know there are a few things that you are fuming about, so I'm going to let you just launch off into them.
Okay. Well, I don't necessarily want to come across as a lunatic or an angry fellow, but I have to say there are things in the news that are, I think if it doesn't make you angry, then you're not paying attention. And one of those things is what's going on down in Texas. Now, it's not the governor, it's not the lieutenant governor, it's a judge, a state judge in Dallas. I'm sure everyone's heard about it, but I want to dig a little deeper than just the headline, which is a salon owner was arrested, and she's now in jail, serving 7 days in jail and paying apparently a $7,000 fine because she opened her salon. So a little backdrop here. Someone might say, oh, well, she broke the law, that's her fault. And the answer would be, well, wait a minute. What was the law? The governor of Texas did not issue any stay-at-home orders. He issued a set of guidelines that he asked Texans to help with, and she did. She shut down her business for over a month. But when she and her other workers in the salon got to a point where they weren't going to be able to pay their bills, feed their families, they decided to open up the salon, allowing only a few people in at a time, wearing masks, having them wear masks, wiping down all the surfaces between clients, etc. A judge decided to send her an order telling her that she had to close. She disregarded the order, viewed it as unlawful. I think she's correct. So later, the judge had her arrested and brought in for contempt of court because she didn't follow his order. And then he offered her that if she would, say, I'm sorry, I'm selfish, I shouldn't have done it, he would suspend the jail time. She said, I'm not going to do that because I wasn't selfish. It's not selfish to want to feed your family. He says, okay, fine, then you go to jail. So this judge is a tyrant. This judge is unfit for office. And let's just be very clear here. First of all, this judge's name is Eric Moyer. And he's up for re-election in November, by the way. He's on the ballot. Apparently a woman named Jessica Voice Lewis is running against him as a Republican. And I would hope that every single person in the district, regardless of the party affiliation, votes for her or votes for a write-in. But he should not receive any more votes than his own vote. This isn't a partisan issue. She was not convicted of violating any state law. There was no state law for her to violate. Governor Abbott didn't actually issue shutdown orders in Texas. He just gave guidelines. And she followed them, as I said, for over a month. And then when things got dire, they decided to open up. The bottom line is the court order that she received telling her to close down was not legitimate. The judge doesn't have any authority to tell people what to do. A judge could not, for example, order me to stop appearing on or co-hosting the Conservative Commandos. That would violate all kinds of constitutional principles and my rights. It's not a legitimate order, and therefore I do not have to obey it. People can say, well, she should have gone to court to defeat it. No, you can just ignore the judge. The judge is a clown, he's a boob, and he ought to be ignored, and she did. And I would argue if the Democrats send him back for another term, it demonstrates that they are not just the party of big government. They're the party of tyranny. They're the party of injustice. They're the party of oppression. So that's my challenge to Democrats right now. You have on you the taint. You have on you the stench of oppression, of lawlessness, and of injustice. Because you put this man in office and you have a chance to remove that stench. The question is, will you? And I don't know. I think there's a very real chance that if this is a heavily Democratic area, they'll just send him on back because, after all, he's one of us. And all I can say to that is, if he were a Republican, I would vote him out of office, and I would not care if he was, quote, one of us. I would realize he isn't one of us because he is a dictator and a tyrant. Judge Moye must go. And if the Democrats don't do that, then they are as bad as he is. And they deserve our contempt.
No, I agree with you. And let's give him a first name, too. His name is Eric.
Eric
Moye, and it's M-O-Y-E. Eric, M-O-Y-E. So let's put a full name on it. And George, I have to ask you, as an attorney, someone who has taught Constitution in the college classroom, does Shelley Luther, does she have a case against this judge? Can she sue this judge for something like a wrongful conviction? I'm just throwing that term out there.
You know, we have civil rights laws that allow the citizens whose basic constitutional rights have been infringed by office holders acting under the language is called color of state law, meaning that they use the authority they have as some government official. Could be a judge, could be a sheriff, could be a governor. It's historically in the 60s, it was generally aimed at people who were essentially denying the right to vote or other civil rights to blacks or other minorities. Our Attorney General has said he's told his U.S. attorneys to be on the watch out for violations of people's federal constitutional rights. And I would argue that this judge sounds to me like he's right for it. So I hope they actually not only does she maybe sue him for civil damages, but maybe he gets brought into court himself. And
right.
Then
I hope so.
I would challenge the judge as he sentences him to tell him, Eric, if you will apologize and tell us how selfish you are and what a tyrant you are, I will not actually make you serve time in jail.
I love it. If I could give a little update on this, George, as you were talking about I did a little Googling. Apparently, Governor of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, has sent Moye a letter. We haven't seen that letter yet. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sent a letter yesterday to Moye and insisting that Moye immediately release Shelley Luther, who Moye yesterday sentenced to jail for opening her salon last week in violation of county and statewide shelter in place orders.
But they weren't orders; they were guidelines.
Okay, I'm
That's
just
the
reading
weird.
what it says.
I understand.
What it says here from.
Right.
I think this is Dallas Voice. Okay, this is the site that I'm looking at called Dallas Voice. I think it's despicable, George. You know, all this.
Yeah.
This woman was trying to get her business back on track. And George, I heard a figure today that maybe as many as 40% of our businesses will not reopen, will not be able to reopen when they are officially allowed to or whatever. Right. I mean, George, I've been saying all along that this is creating a self-induced depression. And when 40% of your businesses go out of business, with all those jobs, with all that tax money, businesses bringing taxes, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Businesses bringing taxes. I mean, this is creating a depression, a real depression. We haven't had this many people out of work since the Great Depression of 1929. And I'll say again, it took 16 years and a world war to get over that depression. Is this what we're going to face now? Yeah. Is it going to take a decade or two to get over this? When 40% of your businesses are put out of business, George, that's more than a depression. That's a disaster.
Yeah. No, it's horrible. And let's, for the sake of a argument, let's say it was, quote, a shutdown order from the governor. I would argue that when you are letting people out of prison, violent criminals out of prison because, quote, there's too much coronavirus in the prison, too much Chinese virus there, and you don't want to sentence these people to death, so you let them out. But then you send this mother, and her crime is she was trying to work and help her employees be able to pay for their rent and feed their families. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. If you're not a judge, you can't say, wait a minute, this really is a manifest injustice. There's a reason why many sheriffs around the country have told governors and mayors, I will not enforce your order. And those people are right. They're not lawless. They're just exercising common sense. The example would be if someone commanded the police to round up Jews or Baptists or Christians and feed them to lions. Wouldn't you kind of hope maybe the sheriffs would say, no, I won't do that. That's unlawful. It's immoral. I refuse. Well, yeah, absolutely you would. And it's not lawlessness. And the rule of law is not at risk when people say, I will not follow immoral, unlawful acts.
Amen to that. Well, George, let's take our first break. We've got a couple of guests that we can talk about on the other side. But you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith. Yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. George and I will be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. Guests. Our guests are the hallmark of our show, and we always pride ourselves on the guests that we have here. If you'd like to refer a guest to us, recommend somebody, please send an email to me at auntv@yahoo.com, auntv@yahoo.com, and maybe yourself would like to be a guest here on Conservative Commandos. We'd love to host you. So, George, talking about guests, who will we be speaking with today?
Well, we've got Phil Kerpen. He's the president and the founder of American Commitment. He's also the president of a group called Committee to Unleash Prosperity. And earlier this week, they had a big event and they let out a big study where they graded the governors on their response to the coronavirus and how they're doing and how they're balancing the need for people to survive and economically with the need for people to be healthy and survive this pandemic. And
right.
Interestingly enough, some governors are getting Fs. And it might not surprise you. We probably have a chance to talk about that ourselves a little bit. We talk about some of the abuses, because I don't know that I'll get into that, because I think we're going to talk more about their efforts. But having said that, I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. And then later we'll have Tom Del Beccaro on, and we have a couple things to talk to Tom about that I think will be very interesting. One is the ruling that a judge held that elections are important fundamental rights and that the coronavirus cannot cancel them. I think that's an interesting holding because it has wide application. The judge is right. We do have certain constitutional rights, and they are not canceled simply because of a pandemic. So we'll talk to Tom about that. He's also going to talk to us about an article he wrote about why Joe Biden is actually hiding his papers. He's not hiding his papers because he wants to avoid people taking out of context his political positions over the years. After all, those are a matter of public record. They're in the newspapers. They're in the congressional record. He's hiding something else, and we'll talk to Tom about that as well. And then finally, he's got some good news for us. Polling data that shows that the Democrats are suffering in the polls right now, and Republicans and conservatives are doing a little better. And it has to do with how they're responding to this Chinese Wuhan virus. All
right. So indeed, we do have a couple of great guests joining us here once again on Conservative Commandos. Well, George, I started today's show by saying I know you've got a couple of rants you want to talk about, and one of those rants are the governors.
Yeah, part of it is because I live in the state of Virginia, and in Virginia, Virginia is the home of a number of presidents, a number of important founders. Thomas Jefferson, who wrote Virginia's Law on Religious Freedom, when he, in his will, he said he wanted three things on his headstone. Not that he was president, incidentally. He wanted three accomplishments. One was that he wrote the Declaration of Independence. One was that he wrote Virginia's Statute on Religious Liberty, which many say our First Amendment is based upon. And the third was that he founded the University of Virginia. And he wanted those there, not because he wasn't proud of being president, but he felt that was an honor that the public bestowed upon him. It wasn't his accomplishment. So, George Washington, the indispensable man, George Mason, who wrote the Bill of Rights, James Madison, who essentially wrote the Constitution. So Virginia has a proud heritage. And oh, how the mighty have fallen. Because
Indeed.
We now have a clown car chief as our governor. Governor Blackface, Governor Klan Robes, otherwise might be known to you as Governor Ralph Northam. He's made it a crime in Virginia, punishable by a year in jail and several $1,000s in penalties to attend church or to hold a church service. things like that. So I'm kind of aggrieved. So I've just been watching the news to see what these nut jobs are doing. And guess what? Virginia doesn't even have the worst ones. Some of the, and I'm not trying to defend Ralph.
It's nothing to be proud of.
No, it's a very slow parade. It's a very, very slow parade. I'm just saying that as bad as Virginia is, and as frustrated as Virginia as I am with our governor, Ralph Northam, who is a complete dog of a governor. I mean, oh, what a horrible governor he is. To describe him as a bad governor would be to give bad governors a bad name. It would be unfair to bad governors. But
George, why don't you tell us how you really feel about him? Stop holding back, will you?
I know. Sometimes I get just
Where's
mealy.
the rotting sack of fecal matter.
That's right. Well, sometimes I get a little mealy mouthed, and I kind of try to be too diplomatic, and I'm probably doing that.
I'm just trying to pull it out of you, George. I'm just trying to pull it out of you today.
But Governor Cuomo in New York's been a disaster, and yet the press has given these great, we love his briefings. They're so informative. He's such a great leader. It's like, no, New York's a disaster, and that disaster can be laid wholly and completely at the feet of Governor Cuomo. The nursing home disaster was of his doing. He ordered nursing homes to take back anybody who was sick, not to send them to hospitals, and as a result, they, I think I read somewhere where like over half the deaths in New York are in nursing homes.
Wow.
And then he was the one who told them that he couldn't give them any protective equipment. So he told them, you must treat them. You must keep them there. You can't send them to hospitals. But I don't have any equipment to help you. And their death toll is so high. It's just, I'm sorry, but I don't care if you, do a press conference every day where you have a certain level of charisma. I don't care. You're graded on what you do, not how you talk about it. And he's been a disaster, and thousands of people have died because of his disastrous, horrible leadership. And I think that's on him. He's going to have to take that one. That's all on him. And it demonstrates why you can't... Statists never work out well. They trust too much in big government. They trust too much in their own wisdom, and they trust the people too little. They trust individual rights too little. So, and then you got Governor, Newsom and his stay-at-home orders and his orders about, closing beaches. There's not a single case that's been documented of people who've got this at outdoor parks and beaches.
Well, George, first of all, fresh air and sunshine kills this virus.
Right.
This virus will end not through any measures that the governors are taking, George. The Chinese flu will be ended with the oncoming of summer.
Right.
I'm not going to say it won't start up again next year,
because
I've talked to some doctors that says they think there's a very good likelihood that will. But this summer, this Chinese virus, this Chinese flu will be stopped with fresh air and sunshine. I think it's the best thing people can do to get outside.
And interesting enough, in New York, for example, the governor, I believe it was earlier this week, admitted that the cases they're getting of the Chinese virus are overwhelmingly from people who've been locked up in their homes the last 6 weeks. It's not from people who get out and go to work, people who are, quote, essential. And so what we're finding is that the lockdown order may actually have made things worse. For example, even if you're not sure that more people got the coronavirus because they're locked indoors, but what they have found is that may be very likely. That's the statistics are starting to prove. But guess what? Calls to helplines for suicide watch and things like that have gone up almost 900% during this. We have, so my point is, this isn't good for America. And these governors, Governor Whitmer of Michigan, she's actually, not only is she a horrible governor, she's a lying sack of rotting fecal matter. Because when people show up to protest, she claims, "Oh, I saw some of the worst racism ever," and it's like, no, you didn't. I've seen pictures of what they were doing. I didn't see racism there. What pictures are you looking at? And if she had those pictures, my guess is she would have released them. But every time she's quoted as saying that, all there is accompanying it is her statement. In other words, we're to believe her. Well, I don't believe her. She's a lying sack of rotting fecal matter. And all she's doing is basically saying, you shouldn't be disagreeing with me. And that's dangerous when government officials try to outlaw dissent.
Right. Hey, George, let's take our next break and get our first guest on. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with the very riled up George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to be joined by Phil Kerpen. He is the founder of American Commitment, and we're going to talk with Phil about raiding the governors and opening their states. Don't go away. George and I will be right back with our first guest.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show carried on the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and everywhere across the globe on Al Gore's amazing internet. We truly are everywhere. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We're your co-host today. I do want to remind you, if you'd like to get a rebroadcast of our show, just check out our website, ccrshow.com. I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest, Phil Kerpen. He is the founder of, he's also the president, so he's founder and president of American Commitment. He's also the president of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. That was founded by Steve Forbes, Steve Moore, and Art Laffer. Let's see, I don't know. I don't know if they know much about unleashing prosperity, but we'll talk about it anyhow. At any rate, I'm being facetious. Phil is a leading free market policy analyst and advocate in Washington. He's a friend of freedom and opportunity, and his work has made a real difference. Sometimes people ask what happens in Washington that's any good, and they focus too much on Congress. Well, if you want to see some good happening in Washington, focus on Phil. He's a good guy. At any rate, with that, Phil, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Great to be with you, George.
Let's talk. You've been working on with the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, something we desperately need right now. Quite frankly, 2 months ago, people would say, we got up prosperity. What do we need to unleash it for? It's everywhere, Well, not so much now. So let's talk about what you've been doing. I say that facetiously because I would argue you should always be unleashing prosperity. But obviously the need for it now is so obvious that I would hope nobody is indifferent to the need to unleash prosperity.
Well, we're really trying to get these lockdowns reversed. I think this is the most damaging economic policy maybe in the history of the world. We took really complex, well-functioning economies, and we essentially flattened them overnight by government dictate. We ordered them shut. We ordered them closed. We did so, in my judgment, on the basis of very little evidence that the scope of this disease threat would justify any such actions, and with very little evidence that lockdowns would even be an efficacious response. And we've seen a significant amount of evidence now, in my judgment, that shows that the disease course continued essentially as it would have, regardless of lockdown response or lockdown severity. In fact, if anything, there's a slight reverse correlation. The places with stricter lockdowns have had slightly higher deaths than the places without them. And even if the lockdowns were effective, and I've seen no evidence that they are, the other side of the ledger, the trade-off, I believe, would staggeringly outweigh any benefit that there might be in reducing transmission of this particular disease, which has nowhere near the characteristics of the models that were used to frighten people. It did not go up exponentially. It never rose exponentially, in fact. The curve has always looked like a classic epidemic curve, and the projections of millions of dead never had any basis, in fact, but they were used to scare us into this lockdown, which could, in fact, kill people on that order of magnitude when you consider that nearly all healthcare was shut down for at least a month, other than COVID and emergency care, thanks to a very ill-conceived memorandum from Medicare that basically directed all of the states and all of the hospitals to do that, and they all complied. Even though the interesting thing about that is it was a non-binding guidance document, George. But when your biggest customer by far, Medicare, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, sends you a non-binding guidance document, everyone abides by it. So
right. It tends to be binding.
And, I think we're going to see a big increase in the cancer death rate over the next several years because screening stopped, because a lot of surgery stops, biopsies weren't being processed. I think we've already seen a significant increase in heart attacks and strokes that weren't properly treated. That's going to start showing up in the death totals. And the economic deprivation, which is massive and widespread, will, of course, show up in lower life expectancy as well, from things like alcoholism, drug abuse, suicides, all of the, and just poor health and poorer health in general, because people who have less money and less wealth, less income, tend to be less healthy for a wide variety of reasons and have lower life expectancy. So I think the number of life years lost to the lockdown will be massive and will dwarf the total death toll of the virus. And I don't think the lockdown has had much of an impact on what that death toll is. So I think this has been a massive policy error. And what we've been doing at Committee to Unleash Prosperity is we do a daily newsletter with all of the facts and information we think is most important to the whole fight over the lockdowns. And if people want to get that, you can go to committee2unleashprosperity.com and sign up for that newsletter. And we also just recently did a scorecard that we published yesterday of all the governors, and we gave them letter grades. And we're going to republish it regularly. So probably at least once a week, we're going to update it. And the governors who improve their performance, who open things up, who are less draconian, we're going to improve their scores. The governors who are dragging their heels, even in the face of all of the evidence of everything that's happening, their scores will go down. Of course, some of them are already at F. They can't go down much more than that. But I think that we are going to see some movement. And interestingly, the same day we put out that scorecard, we had 3 governors make pretty significant policy announcements. I don't know that we can claim credit for some or any of them, but it's interesting that we gave your governor, Ralph Northam, an F for his June 10th opening, and several hours later, he moved up his opening to May 15th, not for everything, but for a significant number of things in the state of Virginia. Gavin Newsom, who we gave D to, which was maybe a charitable D. I think we were sort of on the fence, and since he ordered only the Orange County beaches closed rather than closing all the beaches in the state, we gave him a gentleman's D. We probably could have justified an F. But
you're grading on a curve.
He announced a number of openings, although much more modest, for this coming Friday. And the one that I really think where we really had a big impact was Arizona, where we were really disappointed in a state with almost no coronavirus, that Doug Ducey had announced a May 15th earliest opening, really for anything in the state. We thought that was pretty bad. We gave him a C. And he, yesterday afternoon, moved up the opening date for restaurants and retail to this coming Monday, and for personal care services, barbers, salons, and so forth to this Friday, even sooner. So this week for those. So he moved up a lot of things after he had given a speech. It was partially probably because of our report card, partially because of his legislators were in revolt, partially because he had sheriffs just saying they're not enforcing his order anymore. But I want to say it was because of us, because he wanted to get his score up, because I can tell you that as soon as he announced those changes, his staff immediately sent them to us and asked that we reconsider his score. So it had to at least be part of the consideration. And we are, I think, going to make some adjustments. And I think we're looking at some other changes too. And so this is going to be an ongoing product, and people can check back on our website regularly. We're going to be updating it and trying to use it as a tool to shame the bad governors and try to get them to catch up on some of these openings and try to get this economy back up on its feet before it really collapses into another Great Depression.
That's important. I think one of the things that I find frustrating is just some of the weird things, like they've released violent criminals into the system, but they arrest moms who go to parks to play, or dads play, catch or ball with their kids, even though they're social distancing. And it's just like, really? This is the world we live in? This is rational
The
behavior?
priority has been really weird, George. I mean, their outdoor transmission of this virus, we now have like 300 studies showing that outdoor transmission is very rare. It is not efficiently transmitted outdoors. Almost all of the transmission is in confined spaces with an prolonged period of time for exposure. So it's in homes, it's in hospitals, it's in nursing homes. It is sometimes in restaurants, which is why some of those occupancy restrictions, that kind of stuff might make sense. But it's not outside almost ever, with really the one exception was there was a soccer match in Italy where there was apparently a lot of outdoor transmission, but the hometown team from Bergamo won that game 4-1. And if you look at the video, after all 4 of those goals, everyone there is hugging, kissing. I mean, just they're doing exactly what you would think you would have to do to have outdoor transmission. So it wasn't typical. If you're just doing casual outdoor activities, the chances of this being transmitted are really infinitesimal. That is not where we should be focusing any of our efforts societally, and certainly not any of our law enforcement resources. And interestingly, the Police Benevolent Association in New York City has said that they need to focus on real crime. They cannot go they cannot be ordered by de Blasio to follow up on every snitch line complaint and enforce everyone who's not social distancing to the mayor's desire, because they have a lot of real crime. There's a spike in crime right now because police have been pulled off their normal law enforcement duties to do this sort of kind of nanny state snitch line enforcement stuff, which has, as I said, very little evidence to support any of it. It's more of it seems like more of an opportunity for kind of a will to power among politicians than it does as anything that's actually related to public health.
Yeah, it feels a lot like, kind of like, martial law light or something. It's just nuts.
Well,
but
George, we're supposed to we're telling people in Florida and California not to go to beaches where it's almost impossible to transmit the virus, but New York City never closed its subways for the entire duration of the epidemic, when we know that the exact properties in which the virus can be easily transmitted describe the subways to a T: prolonged exposure with poor ventilation in an enclosed space. It's hard to take people seriously who are making these demands of people all over the country about activities and locations that have almost no disease risk, when our betters who are telling us what to do are mostly people who are in New York, which basically did everything wrong. I mean, they required sick people to go back to nursing homes where it spread and killed lots of people. They never closed the subway, and they have the worst epidemic of COVID in the entire world is in New York City, which is where our media class is, and they're trying to dictate to the rest of us what we should do. I find that astonishing.
That is. Well, Phil, we are up against the break, but I'm glad you can stick around for the next segment because, quite frankly, there's more to talk about, and this is an immensely interesting topic because you're bringing facts to bear here, not emotion, not the, light my hair on fire and run out of the room and scream and yell, and that's important. I appreciate that approach because facts matter, and they're stubborn things. But I do want to remind our listeners, we're the Conservative Commandos, and we will be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline Refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to AUN TV Network, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and of course, Al Gore's amazing internet. We're everywhere, except for probably China and North Korea and Iran. I don't think they like liberty or freedom very much, so they may not like us. But other than that, you can find us anywhere. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We are your hosts today. I do want to remind you, if you want to get a hold of a rebroadcast, if you missed the first half of this interview, whatever, go to our website, ccrshow.com. It's all there. We've been talking with Phil Kerpen. He's the founder and president of American Commitment. He's also the president of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. We've been talking about what we need to do to unleash prosperity now and how this lockdown has been so counterproductive. Phil, can I just maybe start off this segment by asking you, who bears the burden of proof? Do you bear the burden of proof to suggest that the lockdown should be, end and that we should move on? Or do the people who are demanding we lock the country down, do they bear the burden of proof to prove that it's working or that it's wise and prudent?
Well, I certainly think the latter. I mean, the one thing we know with absolute certainty is that there are astronomical costs associated with these lockdowns. And, in order to justify those astronomical costs, the proponents of this extraordinary policy, which has never been done before ever in the history of the world, the proponents of doing something extraordinary and unprecedented really need to bring facts and data and arguments and evidence to bear, to prove their point. And they should have a very, very high burden of proof to show that there is very substantial benefit to doing this, given that we know how high and rising the costs associated with it are, with some degree of certainty. Obviously, it could be much, much worse even than some of the things I laid out in the last segment, but we know the economic costs are around $25 billion a day. We know that for a long time and still in many parts of the country, people can't get health care that they desperately need for non-COVID conditions. These are facts. If you're telling me that they're acceptable, then you need to present the other side of the coin with evidence to prove that the benefit's justified. And I just haven't seen that anywhere. I keep seeing these governors saying, we're doing a great job bending the curve and all this kind of thing. But you look and the disease progression is basically the same in every state, no matter how severe the lockdown is or isn't. And in fact, the places where it's been the worst are the places that lock down the hardest. And it's not because they had detected a large number of cases and then they locked down. That correlation is not there if you look in the data. So I don't think that there's very good evidence at all. And I think that we should put a very high burden of proof. And related to that, I haven't seen a single piece of evidence from anywhere in the world that school closures limit the spread of this disease in any way, given that children play a very, very small role in the transmission of it. Children tend not to get sick. They tend not to get infected at the same rate as adults, and they tend not to infect other people at nearly the same rate as adults. And so most of Europe is reopening schools. UK and Australia are reopening schools. Well, why are no U.S. states reopening schools? They all just put out sort of vague statements. It's for the children, this kind of thing. Well, the CDC says that this is much less dangerous for children than the flu. We almost never close schools during flu season unless there's a major flu outbreak in a specific school, that it makes sense to close it. But this is just very, very strange. And I think it all feeds into this panic that's so destructive economically, because people don't listen to the health data and the facts if they see the behavior of their government and their elected officials, which buys into the panic, which closes things willy-nilly, which sort of acts like the apocalypse is upon us. You can't convince people that there's very little risk to younger, healthy people. At the same time, you're closing everything and acting like there's a high level of risk. Those actions are going to speak louder than the words. And I think that's one of the big problems that we have right now.
Phil, one of the things that concerns me is how we dig ourselves out of what's happened. Meaning, how do we return to, say, January 1st, where we had virtually no unemployment, where we had more jobs available or job openings than we had people looking for work? Some of the legislation's been passed as to help us get through all this, supposedly, seems to me actually aimed to do precisely the opposite. Can you fill us in a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, obviously, first and foremost, we've got to get the lockdowns lifted. If people are prohibited by dictate of their governors from being able to work and make a living and open businesses, it's going to be impossible to get the economy moving again. So that's first and foremost. And the states that are laggards, we need to shame them and get them on board. That said, we do have this new huge policy problem that was created by the CARES Act, the bill, I guess the third of the four bills that they passed, but the biggest one, the $2 trillion relief bill they passed, had this feature that Democrats insisted upon that actually makes unemployment pay more than work for about half of all the workers in this country. Just a staggering number of workers now can make more money not working than working. And it's interesting how this came about, because the whole time this was being debated, Democrats were saying you can make up to 100% of what you were making working on our expanded up in unemployment, up to 100%. And that was their mantra that they sort of said over and over. And their reasoning was, we don't want people to think they'll make more money leaving the house than staying home, because staying home is going to limit the disease spread. As I said, very little evidence that actually worked to limit disease spread. But that was their logic. That was their rationale. And Republicans were kind of like, look, we need to get some relief out the door, lending for businesses, that kind of thing. We'll go along with this. And so they agreed to it. And then the bill text itself came out, and it didn't say 100%. It actually said whatever your state qualified unemployment benefit is per week, plus another $600 per week coming from the federal government. And of course, that means in many states you're looking at $1,000 a week for unemployment. And even in low unemployment states, you're looking at $900 a week for unemployment. And if somebody was previously working, say, 40 hours a week at $15 an hour, they were making $600 a week working. Now you make $600 just from the federal plus up, plus whatever your state unemployment benefit is. So you're probably making more like $900 a week not working. You get a 50% pay cut if you go back to work in that kind of a situation. And think about the disincentive that creates, and the problem that it creates for employers who are now trying to get their businesses up off the ground as these reopenings happen. All over this country right now, conversations are going like this. The owner of a restaurant or a small business, whatever it might be, is calling up an employee and saying, great news, we're able to open. We're opening up on Friday. We're opening next week. I need you back on the job. And the employee, some of them are saying, awesome, I'll be there. That's great. But a lot of them, because of this incentive, are saying something along the lines of, I'm making a lot more now on unemployment. Can you give me a raise to match that? Or can you give me a little more than what I'm making on unemployment? Because I'd love to go back to the job, but I need the money for my family and this kind of thing. And that puts an employer in an almost impossible situation, because if they could afford to pay that much, they probably would have been before. It probably doesn't work for the economics of their business, especially when they've been knocked flat by having no sales for a couple of months. And so they've got to face this situation. Do they try to pay more than they can actually afford? Almost none of them will be able to do that, just from the lack of having the money to do that. Do they say, enjoy your extended unemployment, I'll go find someone else, and have the same problem with the someone else who's probably also on unemployment making more, and it's going to be difficult to fill the job that way? Or do they go and report that person to the unemployment office and say, I offered them the job and they didn't take it, cut off their benefits, which might not even work, because they might tell the unemployment office, I fear the virus, or I have to watch kids, or they come up with some other reason that's deemed valid for not accepting the job offer, and then the unemployment keeps being paid anyway. Or, what's your best case scenario if you report them? They come back to work and hate you because you gave them an effective pay cut. They're not going to be a very good employee. And I think most employers are just going to kind of say, I don't want to do that to my people, my employees. If they can make more on unemployment, I'm not going to force them to take a cut and come back to work. And so I think it's going to be very, very hard for a lot of the economy to get up off the mat before the end of these expanded, sort of supersized unemployment benefits. But Democrats insisted and Republicans agreed to run them all the way through the end of July. And so they extend all the way through July 31st. People are going to be able to get, up to $900 or $1,000 a week on unemployment. And Nancy Pelosi's already said she wants to extend it to the end of September in the next coronavirus bill. And Ron Wyden has said, the top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, he said that he thinks it should be indefinite. It should stay in effect until unemployment drops below some threshold amount. Now, he hasn't yet
it
said
will never drop below that amount.
Well, yeah, exactly. He hasn't said what the threshold amount should be yet. But why would it drop below any given amount if you're paying people to stay on unemployment? You're paying them more than they get if they went back to work. And so I think this is like a massive, massive policy problem. And I think it was a mistake that Republicans agreed to it for 4 months. If they had said 1 month or even 2 months, I could have seen that. But 4 months was a huge miscalculation, a blunder for them to agree to. And of course, Democrats now want to make this a permanent feature of our society, that unemployment pays more than work. You can only imagine the devastating economic impact that would have.
Yeah, that's nuts. Phil, you at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity, you guys have been doing great work, and you told our listeners and our viewers how they could get your updates and information. But I'd like you to do that again, and then also just tell them how they can follow you at American Commitment, on Twitter, the whole 9 yards. All things Phil Kerpen.
Yes.
How do our viewers and listeners tap into that?
Okay, if you go to committeetounleashprosperity.com, you can see the governor's scorecard that I was talking about. It's still the first edition. We haven't done the first refresh yet, but that should happen sometime soon. As I said, we've been seeing some positive movement since we published that, but you can see what we thought of your state and your governor and what's going on in that. And the other thing, and there's a lot of other content on the website, but the thing that I think would be most useful for people who are interested in these issues, as I mentioned before, we do a daily hotline of basically the interesting facts and information and stories that we think are important from an economic standpoint principally, but also sort of other aspects of what's going on. And I write that with Steve Moore and John Fund each day. And we send that out in the mornings, usually around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's totally free. And we're trying to build it up a little bit. So if folks want to check that out, it's on committeetounleashprosperity.com as well. And it's available somewhere on there, but if you want to skip right to the sign-up page, it's committeetounleashprosperity.com/hotline. And then I also have the other organization I run, the 501c4 organization I run, American Commitment. And you can see americancommitment.org, the sort of all the economic policy issues that we're working on that side of things, although it's not been updated as frequently as it might otherwise have been, because I've been more focused on the stuff I'm doing with committee right now, just given the urgency of that situation. And I'm also a bit of a Twitter addict, and you can kind of see all of my up-to-the-second thoughts and foolish ideas, and occasionally some insightful ones, and all of that is on my Twitter. My last name is my Twitter name, so it's just Kerpen.
And there we go, Kerpen. Well, thank you, Phil. This has been very enlightening, and I appreciate the information provided, because, quite frankly, they're not going to get this from Rachel Maddow. They certainly will not. But I do want to remind our listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith, Rick Trader. Just want to remind you, you can always get more information about our shows, past shows, other information at ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere, and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Well, George, let's get back into our news and views this week. While we're in break, I did a little Googling, and so far, almost 5,000 people have died in nursing homes alone in the state of New York. I mean, 5,000 in nursing homes alone. 5,000 people died in the state of New York, which is about 25% of all Chinese flu deaths in New York. And when you say Governor Cuomo is largely responsible for that. Again, I have to ask you this question as an attorney. Is the state of New York, are these nursing homes going to be sued because of these deaths of these people? Could they be sued?
Well, I think, certainly people can sue the nursing homes and claim they didn't do what they're supposed to do, but I would argue that they might just say, listen, the governor made us keep these people. We wanted to send them to the hospital where they had better facilities. We are an assisted care facility. We're not a hospital. He, put us in this position, and then he didn't even provide us with the materials and the equipment we needed to treat them. So not only did they get sick, but other of our employees got sick. And I think that's a pretty compelling case. And I think that, too often, because government makes the rules as to who you can sue and who you can't sue, they often exempt themselves. So it's often difficult to sue government because they have what's called sovereign immunity. But I would argue that sovereign immunity is not a good idea. And the reason it's not is because we need the ability to hold people accountable for what they do. Mm-hmm. And accountability makes people behave better. People drive more carefully because if they don't, they might damage someone else and have to pay them. People, all kinds of things like this. So accountability is an important principle in society, but government is always relieved of accountability. They're never accountable. And so no wonder we get such bad government.
Well, Church, what about the idea that anybody can sue anything for any reason? And all you need to do is to get the right judge and the right jury, and who knows what could happen.
Well, no, that's a fair point. I mean, the reality is our system has become less clear as to what the law is, partly just because you have so many kind of activist judges, and so it's always hard. That usually cuts the other way, meaning that, crazy suits can go forward too. I don't think this is a crazy suit, and I think I'm just outlining the difficulty, and I disagree with the law that would make it difficult. I think if governors, if for example, if Governor Whitmer, if Governor Blackface, if they honestly believe that someone might sue them, take their home, take their pension, leave them bankrupt and poor, my guess is they might govern a little better. And so I actually would like to see that happen. But having said that, I'm worried that it may not be possible. But I do believe that there's no question that if you can't hold them accountable in a court of law, you got to hold them accountable at the ballot box. And Andrew Cuomo needs to have served his very last term as governor. He needs to retire from politics. He's obviously a failed leader. There's nothing he can do to overcome this. His reaction in time of crisis was to screw things up and make them worse.
George, we need to give him a new name, Killer Cuomo.
Killer Cuomo, there you go.
Killer Cuomo is his new name. Well, George, the governor of New York, the governor of Michigan, the governor of Virginia are not the only bonehead governors there are in the country. Mm-hmm. There's one in California, Newsom. There's another one in Oregon, Governor Brown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not Jerry, but yeah, you're right. Governor Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is a problem. We have a lot of, I think normally you might think, oh, if someone's a governor, it means they're pretty capable. I mean, how do you rise that level of, it's like, no. These people belong in a clown car. If they were to star in a movie, it would be the Keystone Cops. Mm-hmm. They're a joke. They're stupid. They're irrational, and quite frankly, I don't think they're very good people. And the reason why I don't think they're good people is because they have totalitarian instincts. Their instinct is to govern with an iron fist, to tell people what to do, to usurp people's freedoms, to take away people's opportunity to use their own judgment and to protect themselves. It's not government's job, quite frankly, to protect your health. That's your job. Their job is to protect your rights. Mm-hmm. And these governors have failed to do both.
And they failed to do their job. George, in New Jersey, Phil Murphy, the Democrat governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, when asked by Tucker Carlson, did he consider the Constitution when he started shutting down churches and businesses? His response was, well, that's above my pay grade.
Right.
It's not above your pay grade, Governor. You
took an oath.
You took an oath to uphold the Constitution. It's not above your pay grade. What it is, it's above any kind of intelligence that you have, Governor Murphy. And let's follow this up, George. We've got these governors locking people down, locking people in place. We got this judge in Texas who put this woman in jail for 7 days because she refused to say she was selfish in protecting her business, her family, and her children. However, there is a Swedish expert out there that has said the lockdown was the wrong policy in the first place.
Yeah, if you look, the experts have looked at what's going on, and if you compare Sweden versus other countries that had severe lockdowns, Sweden's experience isn't really much different, other than the fact that now they're past it. They have essentially herd immunity there, but they didn't shut everything down. People did socially distance. People did things to try to reduce the risk to those who are most in need. But guess what? They did not have mass deaths. They aren't New York City, oddly enough. Even though it is more populous per square mile than certainly the New York State is. Most of Europe is far more densely populated than the state of New York. Maybe not than the city of New York, but certainly the state. And, so my point is there were places that took other approaches that did not rule. And remember, I thought Sweden was supposed to be, we're always told Sweden's socialist, right? Well, guess what? The socialists were more focused on individual liberty and freedom than the non-socialists, as it were, in New York.
New York, New York, New Jersey, California, Michigan, and a whole bunch of other places.
Oregon,
and you know what, George?
Illinois.
Oregon. George, it seems to me whenever we hear about these mayors, these governors, these politicians that are doing these atrocious things, making these bad decisions, by and large, George, they have a D behind their name.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say there wasn't one Republican didn't do anything stupid. I'm not going to say that because there may have been. But let's be honest. If you were to connect all the dots, there is, like you said, a very, very common thread here. Answer, Democrat. Answer, liberal.
And George, I just hope the American people remember. I hope they remember who shut their businesses down, who forced them out of work, who put the children out of school. I hope they remember that, George.
Yeah.
Come November or the next time they go to vote for their mayor, their governor, whatever. I think the governors, by and large, especially the Democrat governors, have done a terrible job.
Yeah.
Murphy in New Jersey, your governor down in Virginia, this Whitmire from Michigan, what a disaster and George, remember, she's the one that gave the State of the Union rebuttal. She's the one that they were propping up to potentially be Joe Biden's running mate. I mean, you don't let just anybody give the rebuttal to the State of the Union. George's two big speeches that line people up in their political careers. One is a rebuttal to the State of the Union. The other is keynote addresses at political conventions. They're the two. And certainly it was in the Democrats' playbook to boost up this Whitmer, this idiot, this dimwit Whitmer from Michigan.
To call her a half-wit is to substantially overestimate how many wits she has.
Right. Hey, George, we got about 2 more minutes in this segment. Wanted to touch this last thing. It's related to what we're talking about. Nobel Prize winning scientist. The COVID epidemic, I call the Chinese flu, was never exponential.
Yeah. So when we look at the curve now as to how it spread, there were those that were, remember when they were telling us there'd be 2 million deaths and all this, and his analysis, he looks through things and basically points out it did not spread exponentially. It just spread the way most flus and other things spread. It may have spread a little more here and there, but it wasn't exponential is the point. Exponential is where the curve does this. And it did not do that. And he points out it was never going to do that. Social distancing didn't change that. Remember, social distancing wasn't actual, and remember flattening the curve? Yep. Flattening the curve was not actually going to change anything other than the fact that it would flatten out how many people got sick at once. So the idea was we'd have enough hospital beds, enough ventilators, because we'd spread it out over time, and we'd give ourselves more time to build up supplies also. But even then, they didn't argue it was going to actually solve the problem. All of a sudden now they act like, oh, it's this godsend, and that's why we have so few problems. It's like, no, you guys are lying through your teeth. Let's go back to what you said the first time. Social distancing wasn't actually going to prevent deaths. It was simply going to preserve hospital beds so we could treat better, and in that case might help a few extra people survive.
All right, George, let's take a break. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landrith and yours truly, Rick Trader. George and I will be back with more right after this break.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $1.99 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. And if you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And don't forget to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, George, again, I'm going to pull on your expertise as a constitutional scholar. I call you that because you taught constitutional law. George Mason, was it? George
Yes, sir.
Mason. All right. And you also are an attorney. Should China pay the bill for the coronavirus?
I think
Chinese
that,
virus.
again, we have certain laws right now that make it hard for Americans to sue China. I'm not saying we shouldn't be able to, so I'm not saying that that's wrong. Again, though, we often create these stupid rules that are unhelpful. But that doesn't even go to the. In other words, could you or I sue China? Maybe, maybe not. That's a harder question. Can America impose a cost on China? That we absolutely could do. We could, for example, there's several ways we could do it, but one would be to demand that they pay these damages, not for, and again, like what some Chinese officials said, well, we shouldn't have to pay this just because every time there's some flu and it starts first or it's discovered first in some jurisdiction, it's not their fault. It's like, that's not why we would be imposing damages. We would be imposing damages because you knew about it and lied about it. You allowed it to spread while you clamped down on it in your country, but made sure it went all over the world. And then you misled us as to what the nature of this disease was. So as a result, we were unable to defend ourselves from it. If you'd been honest and less concerned about, quote, because early on they wanted to say it was the United States that started it. It was the Italians who started it. They had all kinds of stories and stuff that they knew were lies. So I would argue that's what they should pay it for. Maybe some flu starts next year in Arizona. Arizonans shouldn't be punished for that. But if the governor of Arizona knows about it, hides it, lies about it, and the rest of the world is in deep trouble, then yeah, I think maybe the governor of Arizona and that's the difference. And so anyhow, The bottom line is China should pay, in my view, and there's many ways we can make them do that. One, my grandfather used to say this, and I kind of think it's funny. They said, if I owe you $1,000, I have a problem. If I owe you $100 million, you have a problem. And I think what we see here is the case, which is...
That was your grandfather?
Yeah, he said that. And his
very wise man, wise man.
And his point was, you might have a hard time collecting $100 million. And I would tell China, you might have a hard time collecting some of the debt you've bought of ours of late because you now owe us. And so, and but also we could do it through other means as well. But the bottom line is, I think China must pay. I think they must pay economically. I think that we have to pull our business out of China. I think the world should do that. China should suffer. Its government in particular. I don't have any ill will towards its people, but the reality is its government is a totalitarian regime that means to rule the world. And I won't put up with that, and most of the rest of the world shouldn't either. Actually, none of the rest of the world should, but some are stupid and probably will. But the sensible people should say, hell no. And this could be China's downfall. And I think the world should make it its downfall. China should be crushed over this. And it would be just, and it would make the world a better place. It would make the world a safer place. And I hope that we use this as a way to understand how truly evil the Chinese regime is, and how everything that they do, even when it comes to dealing with disease and tragedy in that sense, is designed for them to protect the state, to protect China, its prestige. And so they have to pay.
Well, George, I'll go back to this one more time, and I keep going back to this, thinking that if you get the right judge, the right jury, some verdicts can come out of this. I think the American people should have the right to take the Chinese government into court.
And Congress could change that law, so that's not even an impediment anymore. Anyhow, we did that with the Saudis, remember, after 9/11.
Right.
So we ought to do that with China too.
China has a lot of assets here in this country. It's not like we got to send a boat to China to collect the money, or we have to send an army to China. They just bought one of the largest oil refineries in Houston, George.
Yeah,
they did. Let's confiscate that. Let's confiscate that oil refinery. Let's say we're going to hold that oil refinery against any potential judgments that Americans may have against, against the Chinese government.
Well, and that's what they would do to you or I. If someone sued us...
Absolutely they would.
If someone sued us and we didn't have the cash to pay the judgment, they would come after our house or other assets we have, our business, whatever it is, to obtain the funds to satisfy the judgment. And so there's no reason why China should be exempt from that process.
And I think there is plenty of credible information leading the Chinese virus back to China, back to Wuhan, back to the laboratory from where it came from.
Yeah, I think that's at this point a foregone conclusion.
I think there's historical evidence that I've mentioned this here in Conservative Commandos before 20 years ago. A high-ranking Chinese government, a high-ranking Chinese general gave a speech in which he said, China needs to expand. We don't have enough room for our people. We don't have enough room to feed our people. We are creating an ecological disaster here in China. And there's really only 3 places that China could expand to. One is Australia. The other 2 are the United States and Canada. Now, if they try to do that militarily, that would lead to a thermonuclear war, and it would just destroy what they were after. However, if we came up with a cocktail of biological agents and released them, say in North America, that population would die out. China could recolonize North America. There would be nobody to stop us. There's your historic evidence, George. I think there is a smoking gun, as far as what was China up to in this laboratory in Wuhan where this virus was created. There you go, George. It's my argument.
Well, and obviously I don't know what they were up to, but I think that your point makes a powerful point. But I also think that even if you believe, and I think this is certainly plausible, that they were doing research on this and for legitimate reasons to help, make themselves, develop a vaccine or something, and then it accidentally got out, they're still guilty because they purposefully withheld this information from the world.
Absolutely, George. How many
so
people?
You can even believe the benign story, and the benign story still means they're guilty.
How many companies have created a product that they thought was going to be of benefit to people, but found out later it made people sick?
They were held liable.
All right? Look at Johnson & Johnson and talcum powder right now. They're in court every day. They're having millions of dollars in damages brought against Johnson & Johnson for what? For talcum powder, George. Hey, George, we got 2.5 minutes, and I know we want to get into the dishonesty of the media and the left.
Wow, we're going to cover that in 2.5 minutes. We need 2.5 hours for that. Well, there's lots of this, but for example, we see censorship all the time. The example would be YouTube. YouTube regularly pulls down videos put up by doctors, epidemiologists, pandemic experts who have challenged the, what these crazy governors have been doing. And they take them down claiming they violate community standards. And it's like, oh, really? So science violates community standards. That's the left for you. Another example is they'll even sometimes say, well, we'll show you photographs of people violating these standards and see if photos can't lie. And a photographer demonstrated that photos can lie. We can take a quick look. We'll show them to you in just a second. But first picture will show you what looks like a crowd of people who are all huddled together. And it's the way the camera angle is done and the lens that's used. So this demonstrates how the left can even lie with photographs. Just take a quick look. Two pictures, picture one, picture two, bump, they lie. So it's going to get increasingly difficult for us to deal with the left because the left is premised on dishonesty and lies. That's just who they are. They're moral relativists. And so lying to get what you think is the public's good is definitely okay by them. So be prepared. Put on your seatbelts. The lies will come rolling in.
And talking about be prepared for our guest on the other side of this break. We're going to be joined by a frequent guest here on Conservative Commandos, Tom Del Beccaro, talking about election and constitutional rights. George and I will be right back with our next guest.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half. or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carried on the AUN TV network, also, of course, the Conservative Commandos radio network and Al Gore's amazing internet. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We are co-hosts today, and I do want to remind you, if you want a rebroadcast of our show to view or listen to, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest. He's a respected thinker, author, and speaker. He is a columnist for Fox News, Fox Business, and the Epoch Times. He's former chairman of the California Republican Party and a former candidate for the U.S. Senate from California. He's also the author. I'm trying to figure out where he fits in all the time to do this. He must not sleep anymore or something. But anyhow, he's also the author of an excellent book you should read, The Divided Era and the New Conservative Paradigm. He's also publisher of the Political Vanguard at politicalvanguard.com and tomdel.com. So with that, Tom, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Hey, always great to be on, and it seems that every time in between talking, there's double the news from the last time we talked. Yeah. And it started out yesterday or the day before with that big news out of New York that a judge said there's a constitutional right for voters to vote. Who could believe that, George?
Well, miracles never cease. I mean, who could have thunk it?
Yeah.
In a representative democracy, that the idea you would vote for wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got the news, and I do a daily podcast out here in California on KRON, Chronon.tv, and I got the flash that, New York primary back on, and I thought to myself, what is that? Is Andrew Cuomo relenting? Because, there's this thought that he doesn't want Biden to get the delegates, so brokered convention, yada, yada. And then I took the time to read the stories, and the judge made a very simple argument. Now, when it comes to constitutional law and, the Constitution and your rights, Andrew McCarthy said it best when he said the burden is on government to prove the restriction is reasonable under the circumstances. I'm trying to use non-legalistic languages. And he said, after all, and our founder said this, the point of government is to protect your rights. That's its main point, not to restrict them. And sort of on a constitutional level, the government has to have a compelling interest to do what it wants to do. And then whatever restriction it applies, it has to do so in the least intrusive manner. And the court yesterday said that the state had an interest, a health interest, but it said that wasn't greater than the constitutional right to vote. And the judge said, if we allow it in this circumstance, are we going to say that we can just nullify elections into the future? And so if you're conservative, if you care about the Constitution, if you like constitutional law, it's a great opinion, and it has far-reaching implications for around the country. But my favorite part about it is, and someone who writes history books, I've been an attorney for too many years, and 33 years, George.
Me too. It's been too long, unfortunately. But I will not hold that against you, and I don't think our listeners will either.
Well, on Twitter yesterday, I was called Satan, so that's my new position, which means, of course, George, you have to be nice to me now for an eternity, not just during our current lives, but apparently. Anyway, I love the opinion because of its simplicity. I mean, of course, you have a right to vote. That's what a republic is about. Now, the far-reaching implications are the fact that in its simplicity, in its logic, it applies all over the country, right? You have a constitutional right. The question is, and constitutional rights are protected more than, the right to have a billboard of 30 feet wide versus 20, right? The most central things they need to protect. And so there you go. That opinion could be cited by courts all over the country saying you've gone too far.
I agree with you. Very, very good analysis. I like the way you extrapolated it to the logical extension of it to a lot of these shutdown orders where certainly the state has an interest, but that's not the question. The question isn't do they have an interest, it's does that interest supplant, overcome, and overwhelm the rights? And the second question is it the least restrictive way to accomplish that? For example, if the government required us and said, if you're going to be out in public shaking people's hands, you're going to have to wash your hands every 5 minutes. That's a lot less restrictive than telling everyone you got to stay in your house for the next 6 weeks.
Yes, and what I've been saying out here in California, of course, there's a number of rural counties that have had no cases. One of them is Modoc. It's in, if you want to go on the California map, it's way up north. It's to the right, or to the east, the right side of California, right? And it's on the right side. Thank you very much. It has a whopping one person for every 2.3 acres. or is it acres or square miles? It's a remote place.
Yeah. So they're social distancing every day.
Yeah, whether they want to or not, right? And they wanted to open up. But they're shut down for the same reason that LA is shut down, under the same rubric. So a less restrictive means would be a simple thing saying that no one is allowed in and out of Modoc. Now, I'm against that as well, but the point is, it has to be, and they have to consider these alternatives. They can't just create a restriction without considering anything else. And so a lot of these things are going to, I think, fall by the wayside. It's a great opinion. It also gives Bernie Sanders some delegates. But having said all that, if we can transition a little bit here, it was a big win for none other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's candidacy is, how shall I say, unenthusiastic.
That was diplomatic.
Yeah, the Washington Post ran an op-ed about supplanting him, saying it's time to move on. You had the New York Times saying it's time for Plan B. Bernie's people, 25%, still say they're not there. Latinos are only at 50%. If Latinos voted only 50% for a Democrat candidate, it would be a wipeout for that Democrat candidate. So I expect it'll go higher at election time. But the point is, he's on iffy ground. And he's 400 and something delegates short as we sit here today and talk about this. So having the New York primary means he's going to get more delegates, and he needs those delegates to quell, the AOCs, the Bernies, and everyone else. So yesterday was as I love this line, it's one of my favorite lines of mine, overnight. Yesterday was a big win for Joe Biden, but a massive win for the Constitution.
Absolutely. Speaking of Joe Biden, let's talk. We've only got may get interrupted, but that's okay. We can start the conversation at least. Joe Biden is apparently trying to hide something. I've never bought the idea that he doesn't want Republicans to know what his positions were. His votes were public. Lots of the positions he took on issues were public. So it's not like nobody's going to find that in there. But there is going to be a treasure trove of stuff in there. And I suspect it has to do with the kinds of conversations he's been having with foreign leaders and other people. But fill us in on what the real issue is there.
Okay, well, so Joe Biden finally gave an interview about Tara Reade. And there's two sets of documents related to Joe Biden. There's documents the Senate has, but he also has given over his entire Senate and vice presidential career documents to the University of Delaware. And of course, they put a lockdown on him until after the election, which is ludicrous in all circumstances. Why is there ever? This isn't like the Warren Commission and JFK. Anyway, yes, how convenient. So the issue that's set up is Joe Biden goes on TV, and of course he's asked about Tara Reade, and Mika Brzezinski, who I thought gave a pretty good interview, pretty sober and hard interview. I would have asked her why Kamala Harris said she believes your accusers, Joe Biden. But Joe Biden said, and this is my Fox op-ed, and we can dive into it right after the break. Joe Biden said that he's not going to open up his Delaware papers because he doesn't want his positions to be taken out of context. And that's what set me off. That's what everybody's talking about, Tara Reade. That's what set me off. And maybe after the break, we can go in deeper why.
Absolutely, we should, because that's a silly response. His positions on the political issues of the day are well known, and no one needs his papers. There's something else in there he wants to hide, but he's pretending it's his positions. But at any rate, we are up against the break, but we'll be right back. I want to remind you, you're listening to Conservative and viewing the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader, and Tom and I will be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. We are your Conservative Commandos host today. We are glad you stuck through the break because Tom and I have a lot more to discuss. Tom's always interesting, always educational. If you missed the first half, then you can get a rebroadcast at ccrshow.com. We've been talking with Tom Del Beccaro, and he is he's a thinker, author, speaker, and to be honest, if you haven't read his book, The Divided Era, you should. It will help you understand what's actually going on. It's very, I think, instructive and helps illuminate. It's like turning on a bright light in a dark cave. But at any rate, you can also find more about his work at tomdel.com. But before the break, we started talking about Joe Biden and his reluctance to allow the public to see his public papers, his Senate papers, his vice presidential papers, and Tom was explaining what's really going on there. So Tom, the clock and the schedule of the show interrupted us, but I hope you'll pick up where you left off because you're onto some good stuff here.
So, of course, the interview where he said that was focused on Tara Reade. Everybody wants to know whether Tara Reade occurred or not. And obviously, I don't know whether that occurred or not. But Joe Biden said that he's not going to open up Delaware because he doesn't want his positions to be taken out of context. So let's play some context on that. When Brett Kavanaugh was up for Supreme Court, Joe Biden said his life essentially was an open book and the talking point of the time for the Democrats was he's up for a job interview. Want to know, George, could president be the most important job interview Americans ever make?
You would think.
And he says he doesn't want his positions taken out of context. And he specifically mentioned his discussion with Putin or discussions. Now, remember, Joe Biden backed the impeachment of President Trump for a discussion he had with a foreign leader. And the Democrats not sure about Biden, but the Democrats as a whole even wanted to get the translator to have to testify. I don't know if you remember that with Trump's discussion with the Ukrainian leader. So but here's the truth of it, and it's pretty simple. Joe Biden's got a long career. he voted to outlaw gay marriage. He has taken numerous times, numerous positions on how to modify Social Security because, at the time it was going broke. Same with Medicare. There are any number of issues he has on which he has taken positions, and those positions are way out of step with AOC, way out of step of Bernie, and way out of step of CNN. And it's not that CNN couldn't do the research and go back, but if the, Pandora's box of his Delaware papers were suddenly opened, you would not only see those issues, but you'd see Joe Biden's comments on them. And if that came out this week, George, it would be gasoline on the fire that is his candidacy, because the left would never go for that kind of stuff. And there would be more and more. There already are calls for instance, Larry Sumner's, The Economist, is a deregulator. The AOC branch, Bernie branch, progressive branch is demanding that he be taken out of the Biden campaign because he's backed deregulation in the past. Well, maybe Biden should be out of the Biden campaign because he's backed certain things as well. So what's really going on, and I wrote about this at Fox, and a tweet on it went viral. People should take a look at it, and you can get it at Political Vanguard as well. But Joe Biden wants to hide his record from the American people. He literally doesn't want them to know. This is what the RNC chair quoted me. Joe Biden literally doesn't want voters to know what his positions are prior to them voting.
There you go.
And that's where we are.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
And I got in a little Twitter discussion about this with some of the, that's when I got called Satan and a few other choice words. And I said,
so you're Satan because you want the public to know about Joe Biden's career before they vote for or against him in November.
Yeah, I thought I was a Yankee fan, but now it's extended out to even that.
An informed electorate. That's outrageous. How dare you?
Yeah, and so I said to the person, we were going back and forth, and I said, so in summary of your position, you don't believe positions should be disclosed to voters. Brilliant. And I didn't get a reply after that. And of course, the Democrat talking point is when Trump gives up his tax returns, you can know what Joe Biden thinks on taxes or whatever else it is. But there's this week a new Ipsos poll came out, and I have fallen out of love with the Ipsos polling, but it does do this from week to week. Trump got another bounce, and remember, in the last week, Gallup gave him a bounce as well. He's up 6 points in Gallup. And the Ipsos poll, which has a head-to-head with Trump and with Biden, has collapsed. They're essentially tied. And the reason why is two things. On the economy, for the Ipsos poll at least, on the economy, Trump is way up now, and also on the response to COVID, which, of course, the Democrats and the left-leaning media have been after him. But it boils down to this, George. The Democrats now, nationwide, California, New York, CNN, Biden, Pelosi, have branded themselves the party of the shutdown. That's where they want to be. Yeah. That's where they want to stay. And public sentiment is no longer for that. Trump has branded himself the freer of the economy, the man of hope. And that dynamic is driving right now. And if the Democrats don't get off this position, they're going to do irreparable harm to themselves the rest of the way.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard for them to turn on a dime on this issue because it's, how do you go from one day to the next, keep the government shut down? I mean, down in Texas, they've put a woman in jail because she wouldn't say she was selfish for opening up her salon.
Meanwhile, they let criminals out of jail left and right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm dominating here, but
no, you're supposed to. That you're the guest.
I have a good friend in a county 60 miles from, no, not even 60, 30 miles from here, where who's talked to me about this at length in law enforcement, they've been basically told to empty the jails. He has the least people. There are the least people in those jails that he's ever had. They did let out a very dastardly man who immediately went and murdered his wife. They've let out child molesters. And thank God in Texas they put that woman in jail because she was threatening Western civilization.
Right. I mean, how dare she do haircuts? I'm appalled that we have
Let me
those
tell
kind
you,
of
I
people
need a
in
haircut.
America. Yeah, that's right. Too bad she's not here in Virginia or California. Well, Tom, can you tell our viewers and listeners how they can follow the work that you do? And I would argue as well they ought to be that they need to get the divided era and the new conservative paradigm. So how about all things Tom Del Beccaro?
TomDel.com, TomDel.com is the best. My weekly media site where we aggregate the news that we think conservatives should be taking a look at is politicalvanguard.com. And the book, The Divided Era, of course, you can get at Amazon. You can also check me out on Fox. But most importantly, I'm a frequent guest on Conservative Commandos. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. We're always glad to have you here. It's our pleasure. And well, with that, we're up against the break. And so thanks, Tom, for that. That was a great walk through what matters. I'm George Landrith with Rick Trader. This is the Conservative Commandos. We're coming to you on the Conservative Commandos radio network, the AUN TV network, and Al Gore's amazing internet, except for in China, North Korea, and Iran. But everywhere else, we're there. Don't forget to check out our website, ccrshow.com. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, George, that just about wraps it up for today's show. Once again, I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host here on Conservative Commandos. And George, please tell our audience how they can find out what you're up to when you're not here.
Absolutely. Frontiers of Freedom, ff.org, and my Twitter, G Landrith, 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 with the G on the front.
Okay, and George, once again, we had a couple of great guests joining
us.
We did.
Real privilege to have Phil Kerpen on. He's the founder of American Commitment, but we had him on mostly to talk what they're doing right now with the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. Very interesting stuff, very important stuff. And then Tom Del Beccaro, his stuff, you can find it at tomdel.com. But, talking about what Joe Biden's up to, why he's doing it, the importance of these constitutional rights, even during pandemics, and of course the good news and some of the polling data that shows that the country is catching on, that one party is wanting to lock you in and one party wants to unleash you and free you.
All right. But for right now, we're out of time and we got to run because we got to go. But take care, God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.